So I'm doing an update to this deck. The main reason why I'm doing an update to this deck was I gotta apologize, THEGREA players, Keter Sanctuary players. I'm sorry. This deck is actually like way better than what I first thought it was. It can make way better numbers, has way like scarier plays. And I had to completely like rework the deck. Well, not like completely rework the deck, but like gut out a lot of the crap I was running, because I figured like, man, like there's nothing better to run. I might as well just run this. And like I was just kind of like, I kind of built the deck in terms of this is all that it's ever gonna be. But I got rudely awakened in my comment section. Say, hey man, why don't you just play this, or why don't you just do this and that? Like, you feel me? And I'm like, oh damn, all right, you right. Let me try it. You right. So I did give it its try, and the deck can consistently make 36K columns, 33K columns, and it just feels a whole lot better. It feels a whole lot smoother. There are some extremities that I did cut, or that I did completely cut out the deck. That makes it slightly more bricky, but the deck was already like very piece reliant regardless, so it didn't make that much of a difference. But let's get into the grade 3 lineup. Yeah. I'm running 4 Dark THEGREA. This is the only THEGREA I'm running in the main deck. I'm running 0 lights in the main deck, and let me tell you why. Most of the time, whenever I had a light in hand, it was like a brick. It wasn't like, oh, I'm so glad I got this light in hand. It was, I never really liked the lights in the deck, so I was like, I put them down to 2, and then I thought about putting her to 1, and I'm like, well, if you're just going to put it to 1, you might as well just not play it at all. So I just completely cut it out the deck, and honestly, I don't miss her. Like, the darks are the only thing that you need in the main deck. And even, like, I find even the darks, sometimes they clog. Because ideally, you're gonna search your THEGREAs of Maple, am I right? You're gonna recur them off Maple. So as long as I have Maple, I have access to the light. That's my thought process, and the reason why I have not changed up the ride line, even though your ride line kind of doesn't do much, but it does enough because the grade 2 searches for Maple, and that's really all you want. As long as you have some access, the grade 2 searches for Maple, and the grade 3 can also search for Maple. So as long as you have access to Maple, you have access to your grade 3 THEGREAs. Is the main point I'm making. And then this card is literally, this is the best card in the deck. Let me say this man's name. This man's sitting on a chessboard. Heavenly Bow of Affinity Guidance Refurzos. You're playing for my main man Refurzos, or however you say that. Guidance. Arrowman. You're playing for Arrowman. The reason you're playing for Arrowman is because, like I said, it makes such good numbers on your Persona Ride turns. And this deck is always Persona Riding. That's the gimmick, right? So he'll always consistently be a 13K booster. Not only that, a 13K booster that restands. So, on turn 4, when you ride Dark THEGREA, you stick this behind her, that's 36K. Without triggers. That's 36K without triggers on both of your swings, because it's going to restand with your Dark THEGREA. And even on your turn 5, your Light THEGREA, you stick one behind a rear guard. You stick one behind one of your 10K grade 2s, that's 33. And then you're going to pitch to restand, that's 33 again, without triggers. So it's important that you max this card out at 4. Because you don't have a way of superior calling it from the deck. I mean, technically you can just like chance it with Drilling Angel, but besides that, the Light THEGREA can't search it from the deck because it's a grade 3, so that's why I'm maxing it out at 4 copies. And then I'm running these 2 grade 3s instead of the Light THEGREA because I didn't want to run too many grade 3s in the deck. Like, I didn't want to make this like a grade 3 deck where it turns my Light THEGREA searches like basically dead because all I have are 3s and 0s. So I'm running, which one is this one? Heavenly Shield. I'm running 1 Heavenly Shield and I'm running 1 Lepisto. Now the reason that I'm not running another Heavenly Shield over Lepisto is this is my thought process. This is my idea, my spice. So I only want to use this card one time. Like, I'll only ever have enough C because it's 2 CB. While granted, the only CB you're using in this deck is your Vanguard. 2 CB is still a lot of CB. So for you to ideally do your 5 drive check turn with Dark THEGREA, that's 3 CB by itself. And you're already using 1 CB on your Light THEGREA turn. So if you didn't heal, you already have 4 face down CB. So that's why I'm only running it at 1, because again, I only want to use it once. And if you don't see it on Dark THEGREA turn, that's fine. Because if you see this, that's basically just as good or better. Because like I said, I'm running this at 1 of because I only want to use it the one time. Like, if I use this and I don't see this, that's fine. If I use this and don't see this, that's fine too. Because this gives me access to an additional attack. Granted, it's based off of me checking triggers, but if I'm on Dark THEGREA, I got 3 chances. And if I'm on Light THEGREA, I'm deck thinning my deck enough to whereas I'm more likely to check a trigger. So that's really my little spice, because like I said, I really only want to use the drive check ability once. Like, it is very rare that you'll have the chance to use both of these abilities. Usually it's going to be one or the other, and because they're 1-ofs, like, I've never seen both of them. Or like, I'll see one in damage maybe, but the other one will be in deck, or like by the time I see the other one, the game's already over. So that's the reason why I'm running 1 of each. I personally had no issues with this. Like I said, personally, I love it. It turns your 4 attack turns into 5 attack turns, or it turns your 3 drive check turn into a 5 drive check turn, and it's just like, this is just so much advantage. I love it. I wouldn't run it at any more than 1. Like I said, like, if you want to just take this, put it at 2, you can, but for me, this is like, really, this is awesome. And on to the grade 2s. For the grade 2s, you're running, of course, 4 Maple. She's the key card of your deck. You don't see Maple, like I said, you don't see Maple, you're having a bad time. Like, that's the biggest brick of your deck, not seeing Maple. Of course, not seeing Dark THEGREA, but like, you need to see Dark THEGREA, at least 1 Dark THEGREA and at least 1 Maple. So that's why you're maxing out on 4 copies of Maple, and then a 4 Drilling Angel. Ooh, let me put that right there. Yeah, so 4 copies of Drilling Angel. Like I said, this works like really well with Maple. I've talked about this in the other profiles. Works really well with Maple. Works really well with Light. Just shoving the Dark in there, or shoving a grade that you need in there to bounce back your grade 3s from your soul, or to potentially bounce back. Like, let's say you could use this in combination with Maple to grab a PG. You could use this in combination with Maple, like, let's say you've guarded with your Overtrigger. Recur your Overtrigger. Put your Overtrigger into Soul. Soul Blast the starter. Get your Overtrigger back. So, again, just a very key card of the deck. Max at 4. And then on to the grade 1s. 4 PGs. Nothing to talk about there. Pretty standard. And then 4 of my baby, my Dark Angel. Ooh, yes, this card still works wonders in this deck. It works very well in this deck, especially with the Dark. Like, I've talked about this before in the other profile, like 18k, 28k with Persona Ride, because the Dark blows up a column, so you'll just stick this in front of that column. Very good, especially in the early game. Like, this deck doesn't have an early game. This card alone gives the deck an early game, and it works very well in combination with what the deck wants to do in the mid to late game. So it's never a dead card, and it's 8k. Even if you can't get its ability off, it's 8k. It makes magic numbers. This card is just really good. Like, I think this card is just like really good in rogue Keter decks, and THEGREA is definitely what I would call a rogue Keter deck, like tier 2 rogue. And then we're running 4 Painkiller Angel. Honestly, this can be whatever you want. You could run the new, what's her name? Vitamin Angel. That gets 2k for every one of your, every other unit you have on call, Soul Blast 1. But, there's really nothing better. Like, what I'm really hoping for the Clash Epic promos for the glitter decks is that THEGREA gets a grade 1 promo, like a really good grade 1 promo that meshes well with the deck, because everything else I would keep everything else exactly the same. This is like really the only slot that can be like cut depending on like what we get. But like unless like the promo does what Drilling Angel does but like better, like everything else in the deck I would keep the same. You want to run this just because it's a booster. This is good. It works on combination with your maples, like soul blasting them back out. But most of the time, like, it's okay. Like, I've never had this card in the early or late to mid game, and I was like, damn, like, this card saved me. Like, oh damn, like, I really needed that draw. Like, my hand size is usually pretty healthy. Like I said, like, this is like the most cuttable card in the deck. This could theoretically be whatever you want, but like everything else in this deck I would keep the same. Like, for me, the way this deck works, especially with my main man here, the Bowman, like, oh, it's like fine wine. And let's move on to the triggers. For the triggers, running 4 heal, 4 front. The fronts are not like the fronts, they were mandatory, but the fronts are even better now. Because you're making 36 to 33k column, you check a front, that's 46. You check a front, that column is now 36. And you use, like I said, like you usually put your triggers on your weaker columns. So like your weakest column is probably gonna be like if you don't have a booster, 18 or 20. If you do have a booster, 28. You put a trigger on that, that's 38. You check a front, that's 48. So the front triggers just work really well with the deck. Very aggressive. I max them out at 4. I really wouldn't play more than 4 because you still need crits. You still need crits to win the game. But running 7 crit. And then the biggest change in the deck, well, not like the biggest change, but another change in the deck is Cray Elemental OT. Shout outs to W Slasher. He's where I got this inspiration from. Cray Elemental OT in THEGREA is literally gas. It is gas. Like, the Keter OT, it was okay, but like, you need to check other triggers in combination with your units getting drive checks for the Keter OT to be good, in my opinion, outside of decks like Bastion, decks like Hexa Orb, that like the Keter OT is just naturally good in those decks because it was built for those decks. THEGREA, like, the extra drive checks are okay, the extra cards in hand are okay, but like when I check the OT, I want it to help me win the game. And since I'm usually having like 2 to 3 attacks on turn 2, on turn 1, turn 2, and turn 3, I flip the Keter OT, give 2 units 100 million, that's basically guaranteed 2 damage, if not death. So I found the Keter OT to just be very, like, not the Keter OT, the Cray Elemental OT to be like, in this deck, like, it just glues this whole deck together. Like, it makes the deck feel so good. It makes the deck feel so strong. Like, I was playing, like, I played this deck like numerous times. Without Refrezos, the highest number you can make is 28. Your numbers are usually like 23, 28. Like, those are like lousy, pathetic numbers. If you're a 4 attack deck and those are the numbers you're making, why do I play you? Like, why don't I just play Bastion? Why don't I just play Hexa Orb if I'm playing Keter? Why don't I just play Shadow Paladin if I'm playing Keter, you know? Like, this, like, the whole combo with Refrezos just makes this a very desirable deck to play. Like, if you're gonna pick up this deck, I recommend you pick up 4 copies of Refrezos, because Refrezos makes the deck. It really makes the deck. Like, arguably, everything else you could change out to your liking, but Refrezos is what makes this deck, like, so good and powerful to run. At least in my opinion. But don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. I will be having more videos up. Hopefully, I'll be able to get some match videos showcasing how this deck works. It's a really good deck, like I said. Way better and stronger than my first profile. Like this puts my first profile to shame. So yeah, later guys.